Well, what is up everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. Today, we're gonna do a video that's a little bit of a self-reflection, looking at myself in the mirror, and I think in turn, hopefully looking at our community in the mirror, and doing a little bit of an attitude shift, really for myself. This video is, I want you guys to know, like up front, like this is really my own talk to me. Actually had a really great conversation with somebody in our community this week that brought up some points, and so this is a self-reflection video, but I do think that some of you in the community have thought along the same lines as me, and so I want to maybe say, hey, maybe as a community we can have an attitude shift too. So we'll talk about that. For me, when I was 21, I got married, right? And I thought my wife, my fiance, my girlfriend, was the most perfect human being in the world. Then we got married, and I quickly realized that though she is an angel, she is maybe less perfect than I thought. She leaves her dishes in the sink. She has a different kind of attitude than I do. She likes to hang out with friends every single night and whatever. It's just different. Like it was different than I expected. Love her to death, but it was just different, and she wasn't as perfect as I expected. Now, granted, I was far less perfect, but she already knew that. But here's what happened. As we continued our marriage, about 2 or 3 years into my marriage, I realized that, and I learned this idea, this kind of quote, that I have to expect the best in my wife rather than assuming the worst. I'm gonna say it again. I have to expect the best in my wife rather than assuming the worst. And back in my relationship with LSS, when I first got into this game and I started poking around and hearing how well LSS cared for the LGSs, I was like, oh my gosh, LSS is perfect. They are amazing. They are the best company in the world. And I've done videos, and I still think LSS, don't get me wrong, like LSS is a great company. They're doing great things, whatever. But then over the last month, and especially like after Monarch, and we knew that Monarch release was gonna be, it was gonna be messy. We knew that in terms of, when I was talking about Monarch release being messy, I was talking more like box prices were gonna be really high, blah, blah, blah. Like that's kind of what we're talking about. What happened was that the Monarch release was messy in a lot of ways. And one of the things were some of the print issues, right? We had, we thought they were perfect, and then we had print issues, and a lot of the high-end collectors are really frustrated because they're not able to get their 10s or whatever. We have LGS communication issues with events and skirmishes, and with just a lot of things going on behind the scenes with LGSs. And then we have the map pricing issue now with Monarch Unlimited, where stores aren't even able to sell their Monarch Unlimited because other stores are undercutting them on the market. And so quickly, I became frustrated. I became frustrated with LSS in the last month. And I've been pretty vocal about that in my videos and my box openings. I've talked a little bit about the quality issues and the collation issues, and we've talked about that a lot. And this contrasts with the perfect that I used to see. And here's what this conversation I had with this great guy in our community. This conversation I had, one of the things he said that really stood out to me is that perfection cannot be the standard. And I pushed back a little bit because I said, like the reason that I believe in this game is James White, and he knows everything, and he's got everything figured out, and it's all gonna be perfect. And like, the fact of the matter is that Flesh and Blood is a game that's created by people, and people aren't perfect. And so perfection, I agree with this now, perfection cannot be the standard. Now, my personality type, if you guys care about the Enneagram crap, my wife talks about it all the time. I'm not a big fan of the Enneagram stuff, but I do know that like as my personality type, she'll tell me that I see perfection and I say, hey, what do we need to do to get over there to that perfection? And that's what I focus on. I'm 100% focused on. And what happens in a community our size is that this becomes this echo chamber of frustration and anger, and it just kind of keeps bubbling up. And as a community, if we let perfection, and this is hard for me, like this is a really difficult, this is why I've shot this video 3 times now. This is really hard for me. If we let perfection be the guiding factor, as a community, we will kill this game. If we don't have grace, if we don't have the ability to look over some of the issues, and if we expect the best if we assume the worst, in other words, that we will never get to the perfection, or they're not doing what it takes to get there, if we assume the worst, we're gonna kill the game. Our attitudes are going to be what kills the game, not their kind of trajectory of missing some marks. So instead of perfection being the standard of which we look at things, my perspective shift, and again, this is for me, okay? This is 100% a video for me, looking at a mirror to myself, and I would encourage you, maybe it's the same for you. Instead of perfection being the standard, what if grace and expecting the best and not assuming the worst was the new standard? What if instead of saying, hey, they need to get there, if they don't get there, the game's gonna die, what if instead of saying, hey, like, maybe they're working on it, maybe they're on their way, maybe there's other avenues, because you know what, at the end of the day, and I really believe this, LSS has created a great game, but at the end of the day, it's our community, it's the way that we interact with each other, it's the way that we welcome other people into the game that will propel this game forward, not necessarily the cards or the collation or the, being able to get a BGS 10. Like, those things are not gonna be what propels the game forward. What will propel the game forward is our attitudes, the way that we teach the game to other people, the way that we talk about the game, and the excitement that we have for the game. Our attitude is what propels this game forward. So I want to talk about a few good things, and then I want to talk about a few maybe counterpoints to the negative things that I've been bringing up. So for those of you who are still here, I appreciate you. Here are some good things that I want to highlight. Number one, I've said these, I have to say, like, I have been fair, I have highlighted these things, but in this little reflection video, like, I want to make sure that I'm really stating them for myself, again. Monarch cards are really good. I think that we have accepted Monarch as like a really fun and good set, especially sealed format is a lot of fun. I think we are still learning how the cards affect the meta and that kind of thing, but it seems like nothing broke the game, which is a huge win. I remember talking to George way back, and he was saying, like, Monarch is the tell, like, can they add a new set with new characters that doesn't break the game? That really tells us a lot about LSS's ability to create a game, and they've done a fantastic job. I think one of the big things is it being a game that, like, continually adds on and all the cards in the past still exist. That's going to be a really tough balance to figure out, and Monarch's a great example of them doing it well. So I think that's awesome. Like, I think the game Monarch cards are really good. I do wish maybe there was a few more generics that were, like, sought after. We'll see. Time will tell on that. The good thing number two, skirmishes. I mean, players have been playing the game like crazy. My Discord server, it's like all the time. There's people playing the games all the time. We have, events, events are selling out. We have skirmish events, not just in my Discord. I'm talking about the community now, but like skirmish events. I have people messaging me all the time asking where it's been sold out for a month. Like, it's crazy how many people are trying to get in to play the game. So skirmishes are sold out. Armory events around the country are getting tons of, people coming out. So people are playing like never before. If you look at the high level playable cards, they're way up in price because more and more people are playing the game who even didn't have the cards 2 months ago because they're entering the game with Monarch. So that's really good. And then competitive play. We're on the verge of seeing like a high quality competitive play here in the United States with the calling. Hopefully they'll announce the calling date soon. Like, that's another, but like, talking positive, like the calling is going to be in the US. It's going to be awesome. We have Team Kitchen Fable, which is, you're going to hear a lot more about Team Kitchen Fable in the next couple of weeks. That's, we've got players in the top 50. We got people winning skirmishes, and the competitive team is really, really excited about the future of competitive play, which tells me that there are a lot of people who are excited about the future of competitive play. So those are some really good things that are going on. Now I want to take the three issues, the biggest issues that I have currently with Flesh and Blood. And I want to give some, I made a post and I kind of shared some of the issues. I said, I want to know your thoughts because like, I don't want to be an echo chamber. That's like something that's really important to me on my channel. Like I don't want to be an echo chamber of my own thoughts. And I have conversations with, Mitch and George and some people and, sometimes it gets into this echo chamber. So I wanted to bring up some maybe counterpoints that are involved in some of the issues I have. Number one is the print quality issues. And this is really the biggest one. The print quality issues being that like what I've said is, hey, why doesn't LSS communicate to us? In other words, it's pretty obvious that there's a collation issue in Monarch First Edition and especially in Unlimited. Now, that being said, and the quality issues, right? The corners, the nicking, the uncentering of a card. I know a lot of the whales are frustrated because like a library, it's like the big Fable, right? And it's like way off center or whatever. And one of my biggest frustration hasn't necessarily been those cards, but what I've said is, why hasn't LSS communicated with us? In other words, I don't care about the issues as long as LSS says, hey, we are working on fixing those issues. And here's the counterpoint to that, which I thought was, like, I can't believe I didn't think about it, but this is great. Like, this is really good. This is why I made the post. The counterpoint to that was, what if LSS isn't allowed to communicate negatively about Card Monday? In other words, what if they don't want to ruin their relationship with Card Monday and say, look, they messed up. We've asked about them. And there's some other, I'll post some links of some articles down below. There's some articles of other TCG games that had really bad problems with Card Monday, and they'd like say, hey, can you fix this? And Card Monday would just be like, nope, sorry, we can't fix it. If you want a refund, here's a refund, we'll cancel the print. And basically Card Monday not working well with them. And I'm wondering if that's part of the issue. In other words, they can't say, hey, we've got this figured out, because it's not figured out, and they can't communicate with Card Monday, not as a result of LSS. This is where like I was assuming the worst, right? Like I was assuming that LSS just didn't want to communicate it to us as a result of not wanting to admit it. But really, that's probably not the case. If I expect the best in LSS, it's that there's another avenue, and maybe it's that Card Monday isn't communicating well with them, and in such, LSS can't communicate well with us. So this is like where you have to have an attitude shift and like, oh man, like that was really important to me. That really gave me a lot of excitement again about the whole thing. So that's one counterpoint. Maybe Card Monday's communication is really bad and they're not working well. And I mean, at the end of the day, the problem is like Magic the Gathering's bigger than Flesh and Blood. Pokemon they're gonna get more time. LSS has to work their way up, and that's completely understandable. So, print issues. LGS communication, one of the things I've said is like, I hope that they get a US representative. In other words, in order to communicate with the US stores, rather than having to wait for days or whatever because of the time difference, a communication method. I'm gonna go ahead and say that, yeah, they're working on it. Like maybe instead of me being frustrated that it's not here today, it's like an attitude shift of, yeah, I'm sure they're working on it. Like I'm sure that that's part of their plans. It's just a matter of figuring out the timing and the structure for figuring that out. And then map pricing. And this one is like, I don't understand where to be with this, but my map pricing frustration is like, when are we gonna see them enforce it? And maybe it's just harder to enforce than like flipping a switch on TCG Player. I don't know the background of TCG Player. In my mind, they can flip a switch on TCG Player and not allow, TCG Players basically not allow people to sell below price. I don't know the way that works, but I believe that they believe in map pricing because they put it in there. If they weren't gonna put map pricing in, if they weren't gonna enforce map pricing, then they wouldn't put it in there. So I'm going to expect the best rather than assuming the worst. And expect the best that they put it in there for a reason and that they are working on it. So this video again represents for me an attitude shift towards LSS rather than expecting perfection, understanding that they've got to work towards being the best company that they can be, and they are doing that. And understanding that nobody loves the game more. Like, I get into this place where like, no, I love this game so much. And I know LGS is here like, I've done so much for this game. Like, I love this game and I just want the best for it. And like understanding that, yes, we do, but so does LSS. and like putting some trust back into there, expecting the best rather than assuming the worst. So for me, I'm encouraged to myself to look at this stuff. I want to encourage you to look at your attitude. Maybe let's not let perfection be the kind of guiding factor, but rather than letting perfection be the guiding factor, letting grace and understanding and that kind of expecting the best out of the team. So that being said, remember to be kind to the people around you, and I will hopefully see you in a video today. We'll talk about crew, and then we're gonna do a case break tonight. Hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you.